Greetings gamers, and welcome to the Dragon's Den. Today I want to talk a little bit about why there are some games that I actually enjoy losing. So first, let's talk about what kinds of games these are. These are not the competitive games that you would think of. Terraforming Mars, Above and Below, even storytelling games like Near and Far are not really that fun to lose. Cooperative games, however, that's where I think this comes in. Because for me, I actually do enjoy losing a good cooperative game. And this comes from a few reasons. First off, I think that it's so much more dramatic when you actually lose a cooperative game. You're telling the story, you're like trying to pull it out, and if it's difficult the whole way and you're still really close, it's still such a satisfying game. Even if you don't manage to pull it out by the end, you're just like, oh, I wish I could have done this differently, but that was a lot of fun. It's still satisfying that you were that close, and it just is going to take a little bit longer, and you just want to sit down and play again, beat this game. I mean, there are certain games that you can lose by a landslide, and then it's not fun at all. But I think in those kinds of really tight games, losing is still very enjoyable. There is another reason, however, and that reason has to do with our perception of board games. So most of the time when we play board games, we play competitive games. I mean, I would say approximately 80 to 85% of my collection is competitive games, because that's just how people make most games. And so the competitive games themselves, you have more respect for because the players are the ones who you are playing against. You're not playing against a piece of cardboard, you're playing against other human beings who you know are intelligent, who are really good at this kind of strategy or this kind of strategy, and you know that they are really good at this game, it would be really hard to beat them at game X. Therefore, when you're playing a competitive game, it's a lot easier to respect your opponent. When you're playing a cooperative game, you're playing against pretty much an automata. So you're playing against a set of rules for which you, understand most of them, and you can do a lot within them, but they don't really react to what you do in other ways that are not pre-programmed. And yeah, they have dice, they have other randomizers and things like that, but that's just not the same as playing against a human. So I think subconsciously, whenever we start a cooperative board game, we're expecting to win, because we are playing against a piece of cardboard and a set of rules. We are not actually playing against other people. There's no one who's going to be able to react to a certain strategy or anything like that. So it just innately seems a bit easier. When these cooperative games beat us is when we actually start to respect. So a game like Robinson Crusoe, you sit down and you're playing the game. It's really difficult, and after you learn the rules, you're still struggling a bit, and it beats you. And then you sit down and play again, and now you know a bit more, and it still beats you, but you're that much closer. And that just iterative process just makes it so much more fun. It makes it so much more engaging when you're actually respecting the game and you're actually trying to outsmart it instead of just playing the game. The same can be said for a lot of other games. Shadowrift, for example, is one of those games that is brutally difficult, but a lot of fun to play. And even when I lose, I still really enjoy it because there was this swarm and I was really getting into it. And even though they managed to overwhelm me, next time I got it. Next time I'm going to go for this other strategy. Or, they just managed to get a few lucky shots in. It's just a lot more interesting when the game actually has teeth. If it were easy, it would just be an exercise, not really interesting and not really fun to write home about. Whereas when the game beats you at least once or twice, that's when things start getting really interesting. And we found this really firsthand when we started playing Zombicide Black Plague. We started off with the easy scenarios, and once those scenarios were complete, we were really left unsatisfied. They seemed too easy. They seemed like we managed to get around the opponents so easily and just destroy them without any issue. And this was just not fun for any of us. And then we started to add a few other things. So we added an extra necromancer, we added an extra abomination. And we also added the murder of crows. And that is when we had our first death in our Zombicide series. And that's when we started to respect the game. That's when we were just like, oh no, we have to be careful about this type of enemy. The crows, they just seem to destroy us. And even killed 2 characters in that first game that we played with them. And that gave us that puzzle to wrap our minds around and just figure out. And then we had a few other ones where we overextended and another character died. And it's like, oh, now we got to be careful of that too. And then we had our TPK, in which we all died because of the fact that we just weren't able to get to a certain degree. And this was right after we had just been talking about how this scenario seemed almost exactly the same as the one before, and we were able to do that one pretty easily. And then we played Quest 6. And it turns out that now we really have to respect the layout as well. And that changes things a lot too. So each time you lose, you learn something. Each time something like that happens, you get better at the game and you get better at trying to deal with these different things. Now, there are some games that take it a bit to a stretch. Ghost Stories is one of the most notoriously difficult games that I know some people swear it cannot even be won. And I think that this is a bit much. There is a scale of difficulty. You want to hit the sweet spot, which is really hard from a game design perspective. But when you hit it, it makes the game so much more satisfying. So what do you guys think? Do you like losing certain games? Do you think that losing some games is actually going to make them better in the long run? Or do you think that you should be able to win every game the first time you sit down and play? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions and talk with you guys there. Also, don't forget to visit our website as well as our Facebook page, because we are giving away Race for the Galaxy Steam keys. We have 5 of them to give away, and we're really glad to give them to you if you just enter the contest. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a like, as well as subscribe to our channel. We have more of these videos coming out every week, as well as live streams on Wednesdays. We hope that you will join us for those, but for now, thank you for visiting the Dragon's Den.